It's time for the Fort Mill Magazine podcast.
It's September 9th, 2012. I'm Tracy Roman.
And I'm Emily Wyatt.
We have an exciting show today.
As always.
As always. It's always fun. Since we just do this once a week.
Yeah.
It's something I look forward to.
Yeah. It's a good break.
Yeah.
From the monotony of
Print.
sometimes monotonous print.
Yes.
It's not always monotonous. Sometimes it's exhausting.
Yes.
And different.
But, a lot of people think that we have a very glamorous job.
We stay in a hole.
Not a hole. It's a glamorous hole.
It is. It's a very nice hole, but
yes.
We do not go out a lot.
No. We do look forward to having like lunch out occasionally, which we did. Didn't we go out to lunch once last week? Once?
It wasn't last week. It was the week before that.
Oh, was it? See?
We're still holding on to that moment.
I'm still holding. It was so great. And it was a beautiful day that day.
It was very pretty. It wasn't like obnoxiously hot or humid.
No. And we sat outside and we ate salad or something.
You had salmon.
I had salmon. You had salad.
Speaking of salmon and salad, how's the diet going?
Well, I think it's almost been a week. I think Thursday, tomorrow, would mark a week that I transitioned to a healthy, because I didn't actually physically get the book about the diet,
right?
Which is the Dr. Furman Eat to Live book.
Right.
I didn't actually get that until like 3 days ago, but based on someone else's blogging about that book, I started implementing more fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff. And as of today, I've already lost 6 pounds.
Yay!
Woohoo! Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I do feel clearer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's really weird. Like, mentally, I feel clear. Isn't that weird?
I don't think it's weird. I think it's healthy.
Yeah. And
I feel better.
I do feel better, and I feel more energetic. I was really dragging before, like just all day dragging.
Right.
But now and even in the evening, like normally, like around 9 o'clock, my eyes get like really dry, tired from looking at the, the monitors and stuff. And then I just want to close my eyes.
Yeah.
Lay down. But this week, I have been like alert all the way up until like midnight, because midnight is usually when I'm in the bed.
The witching hour.
Yeah. How about you?
I've lost 3 pounds, and I've been doing it for 2.5 weeks.
3 pounds is total, or 3 pounds for the week?
3 pounds total.
But you really don't have weight to lose. It was more toning.
I'm trying to just lose inches.
Right.
So I haven't really measured myself lately, though.
Right. But you took measurements in the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And when I measured myself last week, I hadn't changed.
Okay.
So,
but you are working out. You're building muscle.
Yes.
So that could be why you're not seeing like the weight,
right,
as far as pounds.
Right. And I've felt kind of crappy lately.
Yeah.
So I was looking up some nutritional stuff yesterday, and I think I'm just not eating enough. I was talking to my mom, and she's been on the healthy thing for a while now, and she's telling me to count my calories, but like when I was reading the stuff that we're eating, like you're not supposed to count calories at all. You're actually supposed to like double your food intake because you're eating all healthy stuff.
Right.
So,
meaning add more fruits and vegetables?
Right. Like you need to eat. I was looking at all the vitamins and stuff you're supposed to have. You need to eat a lot and a lot of different stuff every day to meet all of those requirements that you have for like vitamins and whatnot. So, yeah, I don't think I'm eating enough, and I don't think I'm eating enough of the right stuff, like a good variety. So I'm trying to stay on the same diet, but I just need to eat more because something's got to give. I mean, I'm tired.
Right.
So, hopefully that'll help. It's kind of weird for me because I really want to get in good shape, and I don't want to lose. I mean, losing weight's not what I'm looking for, obviously. But I feel like after 2.5 weeks of working out for like 6 hours a week and dieting the way I have been, I should be at a better state by now.
Well, you should feel better.
Yeah, I shouldn't be tired. And, the last summer when I was doing something similar, I was trying to not eat meat at all because protein was like the devil. Everywhere you read, you shouldn't have protein, and I was actually ended up anemic.
Right.
So I'm kind of scared that I'm eating my way into unhealthy at this point. So that's why I'm trying to just eat more, whether it's fruits, vegetables, lean meat, whatever. That's what I'm trying to do.
So you're doing the paleo diet. Doesn't that mean that you're supposed to be eating more meat?
Yeah, and, I just haven't been, like, I've been eating a lot of eggs, and I just don't think I've been taking in enough meats, a lot of iron, and I mean, that was my problem last summer, was I really need to find some meat that's, affordable, and that I just need to cook more, I think, is my problem. I mean, the first week I was gung-ho, and the second, and then I kind of realized it wasn't very reasonable for me to try to cook all the time.
Right.
And I've been, I cook, but it's just much easier for me to grab a salad and some nuts and some dried fruit and throw it together in a bowl and shake it and be done.
Right.
But I really need to start cooking more meat, even if it's just like a bunch of chicken or a bunch of turkey or whatever. And chewing on that, because I think it's really, I just don't feel the way I should. And I mean, I'm a pretty active person. I know how you're supposed to feel, and I just don't. Mm-hmm. So it's discouraging because I've got this time limit now because of this trip. So I've got like a month. I feel like I've got a month, and then my time's up. So I'm trying to do as much as I can.
And this is the trip to Bahamas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm trying to get there.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I was not expecting my plan to be vegetarian, but it kind of feels like it's vegetarian because
you eat a lot of protein. I mean, through beans and legumes and stuff, right?
Well,
See,
yeah.
we can't on the paleo. You're not supposed to have beans or legumes.
Right. But he mentions in Dr. Furman's book, he mentions that there's more protein in 100 calories of broccoli than there is in steak. I mean, I never even thought that broccoli had protein.
Yeah, broccoli is something, when I was looking up all the stuff I should be eating, broccoli was, like, repetitively came up. Broccoli, oysters, and liver.
Ew.
Yeah, liver. I was like, that's not going to happen. Apparently liver is super healthy.
Yuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd never eat that.
No, I would never eat that.
Mm-mm. And
I'm not crazy about oysters either.
Mm-mm. So,
I mean, in order for me to eat an oyster, it needs to be like oysters Rockefeller, which is like sautéed in butter and got spinach and cheese on it, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So,
well, the saga continues. Well, we need to talk about our sponsor.
Yes. Lyons Jewelers.
Lyons Jewelers. How exciting. Our new best friends.
Yep.
Right?
And we've seen their work. They do good stuff.
Well, you know what? Now that you mention it, Rita Miles, if you guys remember back a couple of podcasts ago, Rita Miles, the fashion diva for Charlotte, came and visited with us. She had this serious bling on her finger. Do you remember? It was like the size of a dime.
I don't know how she would pick up her hand.
Like the circumference, right? Of a dime.
Right.
And she said that she designed it herself because, she's a designer. So she designed this ring, and they are the ones that made it for her, Lyons Jewelers.
It was awesome. It was a really pretty ring.
It was gorgeous. So we're happy to have Lyons Jewelers sponsoring this here podcast.
Yes.
And where are they located?
They are located at 6809 Phillips Place Court, or it's just off the 6800 block of Fairview Road.
Yeah, and if you're not...
Park.
Right, South Park. It's past the South Park Mall.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful shopping area called Phillips Place. And their phone number is 704-556-7747. And be sure and let them know that we sent you there.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of dieting.
Yeah. We've got Sheila Caldwell.
Yes.
Everybody's favorite hostess with the mostest. She's a radio celebrity, as we like to call her.
Yes.
And she is in the studio. She's in the house.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
It's going great. I'm happy.
Well, we're super excited that you're here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the invitation.
Well, and we're a little intimidated because, you are like, a radio celebrity.
I don't know if I would put it that far, but very blessed because I was actually discovered, I'm doing air quotes, when I was 17 and started doing voiceover work. That was my first radio gig. And from there moved into the newsroom, and I've done pretty much everything in radio and TV you can think of, except do the billing, and I ran from that. So
Right.
I was smart enough to say when.
Yeah, that's good because billing's not fun.
No.
Yeah, so you've got quite a history being in front of the mic, and so we could be a little intimidated. Yeah,
I think this is actually fun because usually I'm the one asking the questions. So
this
I get
is
to be
gonna
on the
fun.
other side. So yes, she's doing her little evil
with
gestures
my
at me now. So
That reminds me, my husband said that, maybe you don't know, but folks who are following along every week are realizing that Emily and I have been dieting. We're on different diets.
Okay.
But we've been dieting, and today marks the week mark for me.
Woo!
Yeah, and I lost 6 pounds.
that's great. Now, in addition to that dieting, boy, here I go again. It's just habit. What kind of exercise program do you have?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. But
All
the
right.
reason I've mentioned the pinky thing was because my husband's also been eating, supposedly, what I'm eating. So I asked him, I'm like, how much weight did you lose? And he goes, I think I lost like a half a pound in my pinky. He doesn't weigh, though, so he's
And
just
he
being
eats out a lot. Like, he's normally not here
sarcastic.
for lunch.
Yeah.
So who knows what he actually eats?
Yeah, who knows? Because he's out there outside this place. Emily and I are always
In the
like right
cave.
here. In our PJs. We've got the kitchen / cafeteria right next door.
Well, I actually feel a little overdressed. So I'm wearing jeans and my new
We
heart
should have told
t-shirt.
you. We
Yeah.
should have told you to wear your little fuzzy slippers and
Yeah.
I could have accommodated you. I have some really cool frog ones, which if you come to my house, you will see frogs everywhere because I've been involved with the Come See Me Festival now. This
That's
is one of my
right.
11th year,
That's right.
and
That's a
we're
big
planning
deal.
our 50th festival. Little gratuitous plug there.
Wow.
Coming up in April, so we're excited about that. But yes, there's like frogs everywhere you turn. There's some kind of frog thing going on. So.
Well, what's the deal with the frog anyway? Like, why is the frog like the mascot of the Come See Me Festival?
That is a very good question. Back in 1962, when the festival was first formed, then it was a 3-day festival, Mayor Icky Albright and Vernon Grant, you've heard of Snap, Crackle, and Pop, the little gnomes. Well, he is the favorite son of Rock Hill. He lived there, and of course, if you come to Christmasville, you're going to see his Santa Clauses everywhere. Well, he's the one that drew Glenn the Frog. And he drew a whole series of different Glens doing different things, rowing in a boat, playing a fiddle, all kinds of things. So Glenn became the official mascot of the festival.
Glenn
So
the Frog.
in Rock Hill, when you come that way, there are basically 3 characters in Rock Hill that children recognize and are just totally beloved almost on an equal basis. You have Santa, and you have Glenn the Frog, and then you have Mother Goose. So we have 3 resident celebrities there that get a lot of attention during Christmasville and Come See Me.
I can see that. That's wonderful. And so that happens every April.
Every April, and if you go to comeseeme.org, all of the information is there. I'm in the process of redesigning the website for the big 50th, and we're going to have some exciting online things going on.
That's a big deal.
So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm glad I stuck around for the 50th.
Yeah. And so what is your position when it comes to what other involvement do you have with the festival? You said you're redoing the website.
I'm the web mistress, have been going
Okay.
on now 11 years. I handle all of their online media, their social media, the email newsletter, and I've performed for a number of years for the Come See Me Festival.
Meaning singing.
Meaning singing.
Do you dance? too?
Producing shows. I don't dance anymore because about a little over 2 years ago, I developed osteoarthritis. So my dancing days are pretty much done. The last show that I did, people didn't know it, but I had on this really beautiful gown because we were doing, I have created a series called Divas Through the Decades. And it's a musical tribute show for the women who really influenced, music as we know it through like the 20s on up.
Oh, that's great.
And I had this really nice gown on. But what they didn't see was underneath the gown, I had wraps on my knees and my ankles so that I could stand to sing to get through it. And I had a lot of painkillers. So when I hear celebrities that you hear about them becoming addicted to painkillers because they're trying to perform, and I did not get to that stage, but I know what it is to have to really make sure that you're taking care of that so that you can perform. And so I did the Divas Through the Decades, not only for Come See Me, but also for Christmasville. And this year for Christmasville, I'm going to be appearing at the Old Town Bistro for 3 nights.
Excellent.
Doing some of my special Christmas tribute shows there. So
that's
going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I enjoy that. I have kind of like professional ADD. There's a lot of things that I'm interested in, and I think turning 50 and surviving the heart attack, I just decided, you know what? I'm going to do a little bit of everything that I love to do and try to find a way to make a living at it. So it works out fine.
Well, you mentioned having a heart attack, and I have to tell you that I sobbed. I saw this on Facebook. It's been like 3 months now?
Yes, May 30th.
Okay. And we've been longtime Facebook friends. And I saw it on Facebook, and I just started weeping. I was
gosh.
It was a serious wake-up call for me because, I've been around you, I've seen you, and in my mind I'm thinking, there's no way in heck that this woman could have a heart attack because you're petite.
I don't fit the profile.
No, you're this tiny little active person. In my mind, you're like bubbly and you're active and you're out there doing stuff all the time. And then I look at myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like big. I'm a big girl, And so I realized that, and we're very close in age. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a wake-up call for me. I need to do something.
It kind of shook up a lot of people.
Yeah.
It really did. And even the cardiologist, I'm lying in ICU, and the cardiologist, the head of Carolina Cardiology in Rock Hill, he said, you're too young to be in here with this.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, okay. Well, it's funny because when I talked to my mom, she said, well, at least you made it to 50. Because
Really?
in my family, in my father's family, most have had some kind of heart episode by the time they're in their early to mid 40s.
Wow.
And he had 10 brothers and sisters. My dad had his first heart attack at 42.
No way.
We have one of those genetic makeups that for whatever reason we don't create the good cholesterol. It's a family trait on that side. And so I've known about this all of my life because I grew up in a home with heart disease.
Right.
And, with my dad who had a heart transplant more than 20 years ago. So when you grow up with that realization, you grow up eating what Dad ate because Dad was supposed to be on a heart-healthy diet. It's not that I didn't eat the right things. Now, I will confess, I didn't exercise as much as I could. Some of that goes back to the arthritis of becoming very sedentary, of working in a job where you sit 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And by the time you get home, who wants to exercise and who wants to get up at 5 a.m. to exercise? I mean, you're just tired. You're raising children. You're worn out. You've still got your mom and wife duties to do after you've worked a long day, and you just want to crash. And I fell into that pattern probably in my, mid 40s. And when your metabolism starts slowing down, all of that starts catching up with you. We get into perimenopause. There you go again.
Right.
So you've got all of these things hitting you at one time. So for me, I had kept a really close watch on my cholesterol for a number of years and had gotten to the point where it had come, my actual overall numbers weren't bad at all. But my good cholesterol and my bad cholesterol numbers were off. And so the plaque built up and it was like a time bomb. And when it went off, it went off.
Right.
But I'd had a lot of symptoms for months prior to that. Now looking back, that I didn't recognize as something leading to a heart attack. I thought it was other things.
So those symptoms were?
A lot of fatigue. You wake up in the middle of the night just, we're close in age, sweating from head to toe. You're thinking menopause.
Right.
I had, prior to the heart attack, that norovirus had been going around the family. My husband had it for 10 days. I had helped take care of one of our granddaughters who had it. So when I got sick, I thought, norovirus. And the symptoms just didn't let up. I even went to the doctor who gave me a shot of Phenergan, gave me Phenergan tablets, everything to stop the nausea and the vomiting. Nothing was working, and I thought something is really wrong with me. And I noticed the sicker I got, the worse the pain between my shoulders and my chest. And I thought, it's just because I've been sick. It's the arthritis. It's other things. It never occurred to me that it could have been the symptoms of the heart, because I didn't have the numbness, the pain in the arm. It wasn't, the pain in the jaw. It wasn't the classic heart attack symptoms that you would think of. But that morning when I was home alone, and it became a very real heart attack, that you knew that that's what it was.
Right.
Now looking back, prior to those months, I can see where a lot of the symptoms that I had was leading up to the heart attack. But like a lot of women, we think it's something else.
Right. So recap that day, that morning, when it was like you knew.
When I knew. Well, thankfully, I had gone through a lot of American Red Cross training, because years ago I worked for the American Red Cross in Charlotte, and I was in charge of their marketing for their health and safety services. So I had gone through all of that training, and I had been the one to go out and do presentations about AEDs and educate people. So I knew all of the, basically, the symptoms involved in having grown up with my dad. So that morning when I got up, it was the first day I really felt like eating anything. I was very tired, just extremely tired. And I kept turning down the air conditioner. I thought, boy, menopause is really, kicking my behind today. And I thought, well, today is May 30th. May 30th, for people that know me, means that Sheila watches my favorite Joan of Arc movie, because that was the day she was martyred. And that's like my childhood hero. So every May 30th, I take out a couple of hours and I rewatch that, or I reread the book during the month. And so I thought, I'm really tired and I'm wiped, and we're supposed to go to Charlotte for dinner, with some of our family. So I'm going to lie down and take a nap and see if this passes. I'm just tired from being sick.
Right.
And so when I lay down on the couch, that's when the pain really started hitting me. And I started just sweating profusely. And I thought, I think this might be a heart attack.
This was pain in the chest?
It was literally, Tracy, it felt like somebody was reaching inside of my chest and ripping my heart out.
Wow.
You cannot describe that level of pain. I had natural childbirth twice. Not once, but twice. And I always measured every pain against that. If it didn't hurt as bad as that,
right,
I could get through it. I have a whole new benchmark. It was the worst pain you can ever imagine. And then I noticed my arm, that I was hurting there and between my shoulder blades. And just, again, sweating, cold sweat. So I thought, okay, just in case, I'm going to go chew an aspirin. So I went to the kitchen, chewed an aspirin, and I thought, I'm going to lie down for just a few minutes, see if this passes, that it's just fatigue from being sick. And if it doesn't, I'm going to call. Well, when I try to lie back down is when you had that elephant sitting on your chest feeling. And I thought, nope, this is definitely a heart attack. So I walked, like you, I work from my home. So I walked back to my office/studio, and as I hit the door, I hit the floor.
Wow.
And just could not breathe, could not move forward. So I managed to crawl over, yank my cell phone off my desk, and I know this is wrong, so I'm going to go ahead and confess it anyway. But because I couldn't catch my breath, I thought, okay, I'm on a cell phone. I'm trying to call 911. Are they going to be able to find me? The door is locked. What do I do? And as I'm lying on the floor, I elevated my feet, and I'm trying to make the call. And I wound up texting my husband, call 911, please help. Right. And so he called me, and I managed to tell him. I laid the phone in my chest, and I managed to tell him what was happening. And
so he wasn't home.
He was not home. I was home
alone.
alone. He was at work. And so I was trying to think through my head, when you're in that moment, and I was starting to kind of lose consciousness a little bit, and I thought, I need somebody to know what's going on. So as the EMTs got there very, very quickly, and they could see me through my office window lying on the floor, and they're trying to figure out how to get in. And as they were about to break down my front door, my husband drove up.
Oh, good.
They got in there. They stabilized me. They were in constant communication with the hospital and with the cardiac unit. And from the time that they got to me and started working on me to the time, they took me straight to the cath lab. And as I'm being rolled out to ICU, 90 minutes within that time span.
Wow.
They had totally stabilized me, saved my life, got me to, and I could hear them talking to the doctors in the ambulance and, trying to keep me conscious. And but the pain was bad. They really couldn't do anything about the pain in the ambulance, and they could not get there fast enough for me. But in the cath lab, they got everything done very, very quickly. Dr. Morey, my cardiologist, did a phenomenal job, with his team. And I was in the hospital a week, and 5 days.
Right.
And then got to come home and been working on recovery ever since. And tomorrow is my last day of cardiac rehab. I will have gone through 36 sessions, and I graduate tomorrow.
Yay!
So I got myself a T-shirt.
Yes, I like your T-shirt.
With my little heart.
Looks like a heart monitor thingy.
Mm-hmm. This is from the American Heart Association. I thought, good way to get people's attention and go, why are you wearing that?
Right. So what does your therapy involve? Like, what do you have to do?
Well, they put you through quite a bit. One of the things they are concerned about is depression. Because when you go through a life-changing event, and I've always believed that how you handle these things after it's happened to you is going to be determined a lot about how you look at life before. And if you have a positive outlook on life and you believe you can overcome obstacles, this is just another obstacle for you that you've got to fight through. But if you're doom and gloom, you're going to have a really hard time with your recovery,
Sure.
So they want to look at your, whether or not you're depressed, and if you need help, if you need counseling, if you need to go to a group to talk about what's happened to you. And then they also look at your diet, want to see what you're eating, got to get those cholesterol numbers better, got to watch that blood pressure. My meds got totally changed. I went from, maybe 3 medicines a day to 8 medicines a day overnight.
Really?
Yeah. And, to keep the artery clean, cleaned out where they put the stent in, to make sure that the cholesterol numbers are getting where they need to be, the blood pressure meds. And part of that includes the arthritis medication too. But, and then you begin your exercise program. And it is 40 minutes of cardio 3 days a week. And then gradually, a month after I got started, they put me on strength training, which has really helped with the arthritis as well, because that was something at home. I was doing my exercise bike and light weights for the arthritis. So this just kind of add a little bit for the cardio. So you go through that, but they put you on a heart monitor. So you have that confidence while you're there in the cardiac rehab unit that you're being watched, that you have nurses there, that you have that heart monitor, because there is a little bit of fear. First day they put me on a treadmill and you have that first little twinge of pain, or you're a little out of breath, you do panic just a little bit that, oh my gosh, what's happening to me? Because you could have, another heart attack following.
Right.
But knowing that they're there and they're encouraging you and they're watching you and monitoring what you're doing, you gradually build that up. And they put me through a walk test, Tuesday, to see how I'm doing. And the heart output that I had Tuesday compared to where I started 3 months ago, it was just absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, good.
And, being able to walk up a flight of stairs and, not be out of breath and those kind of things. So anybody who goes through this, they owe it to themselves to go through the cardiac rehab to make sure that they're getting a full recovery.
Right. So what would you recommend to other women who, maybe they don't know what their history is? Like I personally don't know of anybody in my family who died of a heart attack. So is there some kind of preventive thing? Other than diet and exercise, is it going to a cardiologist just to be checked?
I would start with your primary care physician. And like I've said before, a lot of what you may be feeling, at our age may not be menopause. It may be coincidentally, because a lot of those things mirror one another. One of the things that I noticed prior to the heart attack and having the stent put in is I was getting a lot of very purpley dark circles under my eyes. It was like constant.
Really?
And I thought, I'm using my products. I should not be seeing this. And I really noticed that. And then one day I was putting on my makeup and I went, Bill, do you notice that I don't have those dark circles like I did. And I thought, and I mentioned it to my cardiologist, and he says, that's interesting. You're one of the first people that's ever mentioned noticing that. And I said, well, I really noticed that it's not there anymore. Could that have been related to not getting enough oxygen, in your system? Mm-hmm. I've noticed that my thinking is a lot clearer. My energy level is like 3 times what it was prior. So, but I would talk to your primary care physician because they can run those cholesterol numbers. Mm-hmm. They can look and see where you are, and pay attention to those things, because as women, we're used to taking care of everybody else.
Yeah.
And we get around to us eventually.
Right.
And, you have kids. We've raised 5 between us. Mm-hmm. And your total focus is on them. And but you owe it to yourself and to your family to get those things checked. And don't dismiss when you have those kind of symptoms, because mine, I thought a lot of it was heartburn again from being sick. Mm-hmm. But it was a very different kind of pain between my breastbones, with the heartburn. Right. And pain. And a lot of us would go, oh, see, I ate spicy stuff again. Mm-hmm. I know better. And we'll go eat some, Rolaids or whatever, or Tums, and we'll go on our way. But, don't discount those things. And but talk to your doctor if you have those kind of concerns and get them to check you out. Because there was a story out yesterday, I believe in USA Today, I think is where I read it, that heart attacks, has become a silent killer.
Sure.
Because a lot of people that have heart attacks, maybe they've had one, they didn't even know because they thought it was heartburn.
Right.
Or something else.
So they just keep on going and mm-hmm. until it gets really bad.
But we mentioned diet, we mentioned exercise, stress. Stress will kill you. Mm-hmm. That compounded stress will do a lot of damage.
Well, you've done a phenomenal thing since this has happened. You've been blogging about it. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that. I was getting the feeds on Facebook. And since then, we have added your blog to our blog because it really is a message that women especially, I think men have always been on the alert thinking that, and women think it's a man's plague,
yes,
really.
They do.
But it really is women now, and I think it's because the American diet sucks. It really is a bad diet that
yes.
most of us are on. But you blogged about a celebrity recently, Rosie O'Donnell, mm-hmm. Herself experienced a heart attack, and you blogged about that recently.
At 50, also at 50. And she didn't know what all the symptoms were.
Right.
And she had them all. And what really astonished me is she waited until the next day to go to a cardiologist.
Wow.
She called her doctor. They went in and, she saw her cardiologist, and then they sent her directly to the hospital. And I think that's probably true of a lot of women, mm-hmm. that they really don't. And they do still think of it as a man's disease. And probably a lot of that is because, like growing up with my dad, it was all focused on the men. You heard about the men's symptoms. Right. But what you don't hear about is that 6 times more than the number of women who die from breast cancer will die from a heart attack.
Right.
But yet we don't, and no disparagement to the Susan B. Komen Foundation, because they have done a phenomenal job. Right. And I have several friends who have survived breast cancer, and I know what they went through. But when you think that 3 times as many women die from a heart attack, but it doesn't receive nearly the attention, it doesn't receive nearly the education. And, it's like I told somebody one day, I said, look around the room. For every 3rd woman, that woman could have a heart attack. In this room, there's yourself and Emily and me.
Right.
One of us, well, I've already kind of cleared that, so you 2 are safe.
You already did it.
Yeah, so in this room, you guys
mean we're
because I've already done that one. But, when you think about 1 out of 3
That's
women.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But yet, how much do you hear about people talking about it? It takes a celebrity like Rosie O'Donnell before somebody goes, wow, what are the symptoms?
Right. And there was another one. Who was it that just...
Michael Clark Duncan. Was that his name?
Michael Duncan Clark?
Yeah.
He died a couple of days ago.
Yeah, he had a heart attack 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's Michael Clark Duncan. He's 54.
Yeah.
54. And this guy...
He was built.
Gorgeous man, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's big. muscular.
He was 6'4" and 300 pounds.
So I mean,
He's a big guy.
but he didn't look like he was overweight. Like I always attribute,
no,
like
it was all muscle.
somebody who's like big, like obese. You think, oh yeah, they're going to die of a heart attack.
Well, there's big and then there's obese.
Right.
You know, you could be big boned and
You could
big
be
built and
big-boned.
in total great shape.
Right.
But, you know, and then
And
you
to
have the
me,
obesity problem.
he looks like somebody. I mean, he was a bodyguard forever.
Yeah.
You know, before he became an actor. So
For like Will Smith and some other folks, I believe.
Yeah, some big people.
I mean, 54. That's young.
It's very young. And he was still in the hospital. They were trying to determine why his heart stopped to begin with. He went into sudden cardiac arrest.
Right.
And thankfully, his fiance knew CPR. But how many people know CPR
Not many.
and can administer that to save a life?
Right.
Because you have such a very short window,
Yep.
you know, to save that person's life. And in my case, somebody asked me, they said, well, what did you do while you were lying on the floor? I said, I started coughing. I said, coughing? And I said, yeah, I remember reading years ago that would, you know, kind of stimulate the heart. And I know that, and I'll just go ahead and put the disclaimer that the American Heart Association and the American Red Cross do not endorse the coughing method. But at that moment, I'm trying to think of everything I can think of to do. And I thought, hey, if coughing helps, if it doesn't help, I'm coughing. I'm going to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I knew that my time was running out. Because when I was in the ambulance, there's an area of your heart called the widowmaker. And if the heart attack reaches that area and the damage reaches the widowmaker area, you're pretty much done.
Wow.
And so when I was in the ambulance, they said, you know, we got to get you there. We got to get this under control because it's approaching the widowmaker area.
Wow.
And that'll get your attention. And one of the things people have asked me a lot, how does this change your perspective on life when you go through that? And I think it's pretty obvious. You don't sweat the small stuff nearly as much.
Right.
Your family becomes even more treasured than they were before, and you're not really prone to waste a lot of time on things that don't matter. Mm-hmm. You get very, very, at least in my case, you get very, very focused and very determined. And one of the things through this blog has been being out there and trying to see, well, what information is available? You know, what can I share with women to make sure? Because when you read over and over again, well, women just don't know. And I'm going, why don't we know?
Right.
Why don't we know?
Yeah, there's no reason to not.
There's no reason to not. But again, I think we think, oh, it's not going to be me.
Right. Well, nobody ever thinks it's going to be them.
Well, and then you don't think, well, I'm too young. You know, you think you're too young to experience it. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
But you are living proof that you can't be too young, really.
No, because there are women who have heart attacks in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s.
Right.
And now we'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsors one more time, Lyons Jewelers, located at 6809 Phillips Place Court, just off the 6800 block of Fairview Road in South Park.
And their phone number is 704-556-7747. And they also have a wonderful website, and that's lionsjewelers.com.
And now back to the show.
So now you are, well, you've always done voiceover work. You've done commercials, but now you're doing commercials for PMC. Is that correct?
I just did 3 voiceovers for a new heart and vascular center commercials that Piedmont Medical Center. The cardiac rehab unit there at PMC just received their national accreditation, which is huge. And I know the nurses there, I don't remember exactly what the award was, but they were recognized as the best nursing unit in the hospital. They're in that cardiac rehab unit. And a lot of people don't know about that unit and the work that they do, you know, and they communicate constantly with the cardiologist. So the cardiologists know how you're progressing and how you're doing, and they watch everything to make sure that you're okay. But, yeah, when I got the phone call for that, a friend of mine is now the marketing director over there, and she said, you know, we're looking for a female voiceover person for these ads. Are you interested? And I said, are you kidding? I mean, considering I survived a heart attack, the folks at PMC saved my life. Yes, you know, I would be absolutely thrilled to do it. And so those are now airing on radio and television locally and talking about people who have survived a heart attack, like Linda Caldwell, she works over at the Rock Hill Country Club, and talking about, her battles with heart disease.
Is she related?
No
Okay.
relation. And then Ruby Gunn, who is an older woman that has been active in the theater in the area, and who also, again, with heart disease. So when you look at what's out there, I'd been researching to find out, is there any group here in this area that goes out to speak to groups to help educate women, young women, older women, about heart disease? Can't find any.
Wow.
And so for me, it's I have Joan of Arc syndrome, is what my husband calls it. So for me, it's really become a passion to help educate women so they don't go through what I did.
Sure.
80% of heart disease can be prevented. When you consider that heart disease is the number one killer in America, and 80% of it can be prevented, I just feel like we need to stand on the rooftops and shout it to the tops of our lungs, but you hit it right on the head. Our diet, really.
Yeah.
It's all the processed foods. I believe it's all the chemicals in the foods. I believe it's a sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah.
I believe it's the stress, more and more is demanded of us every day, the stress we put on ourselves. In my case, it's a lot of genetics. So if you know that going in, you try to do everything you can to prevent it.
Right.
It's like my mom said, you made it till 50. I broke the family record, I guess.
Wow.
But, in knowing that, people would say, well, why do you even try? If you know that that's going to happen, well, that's all the more reason to get ahead of it.
Right.
So,
because even though it is a genetic thing in your family, if you had been exercising appropriately and eating appropriately, you could have prevented it as well.
In my case, I think the exercise and the meds, because I was on cholesterol medications for a number of years, and because of the adverse side effects, I was taken off of it for a while, and it was, we'll keep an eye on it, and if we need to put you back on. And like in my father's case, when the buildup happened, it was very, very quick. It wasn't like something that you could really measure or monitor and say, "Whoa, you're approaching that."
Right.
And I was due. Matter of fact, I was actually due for an annual physical, our annual, let's touch base with the doctor thing, and had already made an appointment to go in June to have the cholesterol checked. And I thought, okay, I'm 50. We need to take a look at this again. It's been a little while. And then I had the heart attack prior to that.
Wow.
So I think something internally was kind of going, something's
Yeah.
not right. Just don't quite know what it is. But, that's where we have to pay attention to our bodies. We know our bodies better than anybody. And women are typically, I think, a little more sensitive to what our bodies do. Because if you carried another life, you know everything that goes on. And we know when something's out of kilter. And I think, again, too many times we push it aside because we've got things to get done.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody else needs their orange juice.
Yep. Mom
We're
comes
notorious
last.
for that. We do that to ourselves. I mean, but that's our nurturing role.
Yeah.
That's what we do. So the men in our lives have to kind of step in, which my husband has done with permission. He's getting very good at you need to go rest, or did you rest today? How long did you do this today? Did you,
Right.
So he's kind of become, he's going to become my coach now, and vice versa,
Right.
of making sure Sheila behaves, which is a really big job.
Right. Sheila's got to behave. Mm-hmm. Well, so you're wanting to take this the next step further. You're blogging, you're doing the commercial work, but you're also wanting to be able to talk to women's groups. So
I'd love to.
we definitely want to help you any way that we can. So we need to work together, because I am on a mission to get myself healthy. And like I said, you've really inspired me to do that. Because
Do you know what your numbers are?
I do not.
See, and when you ask women that a lot, what are your numbers? And they go, I'm not sure. And, when I looked at my numbers, I thought, well, those aren't that bad. And then I looked at the other numbers and I thought, okay. Because that good and that bad cholesterol numbers, those are the numbers you got to pay attention to. But we all should know those numbers. I mean, I think we've been, and kudos to the marketing campaigns for cancer awareness and breast cancer especially. They've done a remarkable job. We need to do that same level of a job with heart disease, because if you ask a woman, do you know how to do a self-exam? Are you familiar with that? Or do you go in for your mammogram like you're supposed to? All of those things. Oh, yeah, because we are programmed. Boy, you've got to do that. Because I think for women, to some degree, it's scarier to think I might lose a breast, and we don't think about the heart attack.
Right.
Because we haven't been educated that way. But I think if we can really educate women, yes, you need to do those things. Absolutely. But at the same time, do you know what your numbers are? Do you have a plan for eating better? How much processed foods are you eating versus fresh vegetables? And are you watching that red meat? I mean, all of the things that you can do, and getting on a heart-healthy diet. And that translates down to your children.
Sure.
Because the family usually follows mom. Because mom's the one that buys the groceries and does the cooking and puts it on the table.
Right.
So if mom can do those things, then you can affect change in your children. And I think a lot of the reason why we have such a problem with our young people, it's a matter of convenience. I mean, it's both parents working and trying to cook good meals and stay healthy. Plus, when you start buying healthier, it's a little bit more expensive.
It's a lot more expensive.
Well,
when you're doing that.
I thought that too, but since I've been on this new eating plan this week, and I've been going to the produce, the produce stand, I
like
still
a farmer's market.
Yeah, like a farmer's market. I got like a whole bunch of stuff. You can see like all the stuff on my counter over there for $20. And I've noticed that since I'm not shopping in the, Emily and I always talk about shopping the center of the store. You're supposed to stay away from the center of the store.
Yeah, you don't go anywhere near it.
Shop around the perimeter, right? Well, since I've been shopping the perimeter and staying away from the stuff in the center, my grocery bill's actually gone down. I'm spending a lot less. And I think, because I had that same thinking too, that the grocery bill goes up when you try to eat healthy, but that was when I was still buying the junk and
On top of it.
adding the healthy stuff in with it, thinking I was really doing something big. But so now that I'm just like shopping the produce stuff, my bill has actually gone down.
And you start feeling better. You really do. If you want to watch a very telling documentary on all of this, HBO produced a wonderful series called Weight of a Nation. And it will open your eyes to how everything works in the country, as far as like the farm subsidies and understanding how all of those things are underwritten to do more of the packaged foods versus the fresh foods, because with fruits and vegetables, there are no subsidies for them. So for corn, absolutely, because you can do a lot with corn, in different things. So if you watch that, that will tell you a lot about what's going on. Maury Safer, I believe, did a was it 60 Minutes this past Sunday, talking about all of the ways that our foods are enhanced by chemicals to taste better, to create cravings for them, so that we buy more.
Wow.
And all of that is chemically enhanced.
It's
and
a conspiracy.
Produced. It is when you think about it, it's all about moving those products off the shelf.
Yeah.
But what you're ingesting, it's like the other day, I bought a little frozen meal because I thought, okay, Bill's not coming home for lunch, and that looks really good. And I didn't look at the back of the package. And I got it home and I flipped it over and I went, 950 milligrams of sodium? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's the big thing about us being on our prospective eating plans is the sodium. You have to monitor your sodium too, don't you?
Not as much.
Mine, there's like no sodium. I can't buy anything with sodium in it. So that eliminates a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, the
And
main thing... Sorry, go ahead.
I would say for heart-healthy eating, everybody needs to monitor their sodium.
Yeah.
Like you just don't realize
It'll make your blood pressure.
how much is in stuff that we buy. I mean, it's insane.
If you look at those cans, years ago, Bill and I stopped eating stuff predominantly out of boxes or out of cans.
Right.
Pretty much the only canned thing I buy is canned tomatoes. But other than that, we started that years ago just to lose weight. So I'm really glad that we did. He's diabetic. Right. He actually has more risk factors for a heart attack than I do.
Wow.
I mean, he goes right down the line, and he and I've talked about that. But we kind of started eating that way years ago. But we all fall into the trap. We're busy, so what do? We drive through.
Yeah.
And you can eat healthy at restaurants. You can eat healthy out. You just have to be very disciplined to do it. And it's not to say you can't fudge a little every now and then, because I allow myself one donut per month. And it is a chocolate-covered Bavarian cream. I'm very specific.
Oh, I love those.
Maybe Chinese once per month.
Right.
So you can do those things, because I think if you totally deprive yourself, that's when you fail, because you feel like it's just hard to do.
Right.
Because you're used to those things. But see, I didn't grow up with a lot of bread because of my dad, or a lot of sweets in the house. Mm-hmm. We ate what Dad needed to eat on his diet.
Right.
And you don't miss those things. And I think if we start with our children, they're going to grow up eating healthier. And I've seen this in my own family, because with my kids, they didn't see fried foods. Not because we didn't like fried foods, it's because I really stink at frying foods. Mm-hmm. But I grew up with...
That's a good thing.
I grew up basically with very limited fried foods. So I didn't cook that way. So my children didn't grow up that way. And now I look at my grandkids, when they would rather have fruit than a cookie. Because that's how they've been trained. And I think if we can reach out to mothers and to women and to grandmothers and say, look, we need to change the course of our families. We need to get them off the couch and have some fun exercise. Hey, go get the Cha-Cha slide on iTunes.
Yeah.
You can have a lot of fun with the Cha-Cha slide and grandkids on a rainy afternoon and some bubble wrap, let me tell you.
Oh, bubble wrap. We need some bubble wrap here in the studio.
Yeah.
I'm visualizing.
Could have a whole session,
Yeah. That's a lot of fun. That's adult fun right there.
Yeah.
That's true, I was about to say a glass of wine and some bubble wrap. That's like a Friday night date or something. But, you get out and have that kind of activity and go out and walk. That is one of the things that I think with the arthritis that I miss the most, is that, I was a dancer because I was in theater for a long time. And so for me, that's kind of odd, not being able to dance, but not being able just to get on Riverwalk and just walk until, I'm tired and walk back. Not being able to, I really miss those things. So you kind of take some things for granted. And if you're able to do those things, get out and walk. You need to be exercising 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, minimum.
Right.
Minimum, as it was put to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. People don't realize how much they're sitting on their bum.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize it until I started working out because of our diets. I mean, I work out at least every day, 6 days a week for an hour. And it's exhausting. And I try to get up in the morning to do it, but that's not always going to happen.
Right.
So.
And you know what? Especially now that the weather's hopefully going to start changing.
Yeah.
And we've got the Greenway. I mean, Fort Mill especially. Get off your butt. Go walk in the Greenway. I mean, and it's good for your psyche, too.
Fresh air.
Fresh air.
Goes a long way.
Kids will love it.
Well, when you are faced with lying in a cath lab, feeling things being moved around inside your heart and being
that's freaky.
Inflated to put in you're like, I never, ever, ever, ever want to go through this again.
Right. So you were awake for that.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
They showed me the catheter and the balloon that they used to inflate the artery to put in the stent. And it was about, the diameter of a straight pin. And I'm looking at this saying, but it felt huge.
Right.
I mean, when you feel that, no, you don't want to go through that. So, I wanted to share one statistic that I found yesterday. And I've been sharing my blog, too, with Go Red for Women and with the American Heart Association. And I put this out there yesterday, and this was one that the American Heart Association, I got a note back on Facebook saying, wow, we have never heard that statistic before. And this is from the Heart Foundation. But every 33 seconds, someone in the United States dies from cardiovascular disease, which is roughly the equivalent of a September 11th-like tragedy repeating itself every 24 hours, 365 days a year.
Wow.
Wow, that just gave me chills.
That's the math. See, people like to throw out statistics, and it goes, you can't really wrap your brain around the number.
Sure.
But when you put it into those terms, and with September 11th coming up, that kind of just jumped at me.
Mm-hmm.
every 33 seconds.
Wow.
Somebody's dying from heart attack, and that would include men and women. Mm-hmm. But when you think about that, it just, wow. It really can put it into perspectives. And what I want to do is to sound the alarm and say, you don't have to be a statistic.
Right. Well, you mentioned Go Red, and we posted the Go Red for Women video that was done by Elizabeth Banks along with your blog, which I thought was fun. Did you see it, Emily? It's a great little movie that Elizabeth Banks.
I love her.
Yeah, she's awesome. And she directed and produced and starred in this little, it's just a little heart attack. That's what it's called. But it's actually attached to Sheila's blog, which we posted on August 27th. And it really, it's a funny look at a healthy in appearance woman going about her day, and she's experiencing a heart attack, but she just keeps like downplaying it because she's taking care of the kids and the husband and everything. So check out that blog that we posted on August 27th. It's called Celebrities Heart Attack Gets National Attention. That's where Sheila recaps what happened with Rosie O'Donnell, and there's a video attached with Elizabeth Banks, and it's really an eye-opener. It's funny. It's a funny look, but it tells you like the symptoms.
But it's the truth.
It's the truth, yeah.
And there's a lot of really great information on, the Go Red for Women website. Womenheart.org has a lot of good information out there. The American Heart Association. So there's a lot of online resources that you can get to where you can educate yourself. And I think sometimes, though, seeing somebody, because it kind of tickles me when I meet people and they find out about it, because it'll come up in a conversation and they kind of step back and they go, but you don't look sick.
No.
You look really good.
Yes.
And I said, as compared to dead, yes. But people, they do. And it really kind of stuns them because they expect to see somebody, I guess, sallow and,
and
sickly.
obese.
I weigh 147.
You're itty bitty.
I'll just go ahead and say, I
You're
weigh
a tiny
147
woman.
pounds.
And you always look healthy. So, I mean, I'm telling you,
It's
that's
the
why I was
makeup.
like sobbing when it came across Facebook that you had just had a heart attack. I was like, what?
But she doesn't look sick.
No.
And I never try to carry myself like I was, I'm always one of those, and it's that darn type A personality where you push through. You gut it out. As my grandmother's now deceased, but when she was 97, the last visit I had with her, she looked at me and she said, our family doesn't give up. And her ancestors were the Cherokee Indians that hid in the western North Carolina mountains to escape the Trail of Tears. So when she says that, I know from whence that comes.
Yeah.
And so I kept hearing, we don't give up. So I just keep pushing. But I'm learning, because a friend of mine yesterday, we sat down and had a little chat, and one of his first questions was, well, how are you doing? How's the heart? Are you behaving? I'm checking in with your husband. Are you behaving? And I had a phone call from a dear friend of ours that lives at the beach now. And the first question was, how's the heart? Are you behaving? And I'm like, why does everybody want to know if I'm behaving? Well, there's obvious reasons why.
Right. So now you got to turn it around on
It's that
them.
overachiever syndrome,
You need to turn it around on them. How are they
How
behaving?
are you behaving?
Yeah.
But, in taking care, because I am the type that I would push through, gut it out, just push through the pain. And I'm learning that when you get tired, you need to rest. And I'm very blessed to be in a position now, working for myself, that if I am having a bad day, if I am a little tired, I can go lie down for an hour, and kind of rejuvenate myself.
Right.
Not everybody has that opportunity.
Right.
And a lot of women, I'm not trying to downplay the stress that men feel, because I know head of household and all those things. There's a lot of single women out there. There's a lot of single moms out there. I was a single mom for a lot of years.
Right.
And a lot of us, the stress that we have between working and taking care of our children and everything else that goes on, that's a lot. And then trying to find time for us too. But that time is very important. Big believer in massage therapy. And I did not know until I had my heart attack, but is recommended for heart patients. Helps with the
Really?
blood flow. Helps with the relaxation and the stress.
So how often do they recommend this?
I go twice per month. And I'd started going for the arthritis. And then when I talked to my cardiologist and I said, well, I've been going for the arthritis. Is it okay if I continue this? Oh, yes, we recommend it.
Wow.
And I thought,
There you go.
didn't know that. So you have another reason. And I think
Yeah.
for so long we
Let's
thought
do
of that
it.
as we're pampering ourselves.
And we deserve to be pampered.
Right. But it's not pampering. You'll find that you feel healthier. You'll find that you have better circulation. And with the better circulation, and we know when you reach a certain age or in that perimenopause, your thinking gets a little fuzzy sometimes. Your focus gets a little off. But when that blood is flowing correctly and you've reduced that stress, it's amazing how much clearer you can think and how focused you can become.
Right.
So,
All
just
good
because
stuff.
we're, 50-ish.
Right. That's all.
That's
Young,
all.
Spring chicken.
We are spring chicken. Absolutely.
Well, we really appreciate you coming and speaking with us today. And for the folks out there who want to follow your blog, you want to give them your blog address, and we'll make sure that we
Sure.
have that indicated along with this podcast, your website and blog and such. But you can certainly.
Well, you just go to SheilaCaldwell.com/apps/blogs. You think after 30 years of talking, I could do better than that. But, and just check it out there. You can friend me on Facebook, and
Yes.
it's Sheila Caldwell, really easy to find. And, my phone number, my email addresses are right there on my Facebook page. Feel free to email me, call me if you have, a women's group, a civic group that you want somebody to come in and talk about this. I'm happy to do so and share those kind of statistics, but also, share my story, but also encourage you to do something about it. And one of the sobering things I had happen to me yesterday, because we refer to my heart attack around the grandkids as the episode.
Oh.
It's a little less scarier to say
Yeah.
the Mimi's episode.
Right.
But my granddaughter, who is now 7, that lives here locally, Mackenzie, she was asking me, did I go to cardiac rehab? And I said, yes, I'd gone that day. And I said, but I only have one more to go when I graduate. And she looked at me just straight in the face. She said, am I going to have a heart attack one day like you?
Aww.
And I said, sweetie, I'm going to make sure we do everything possible so that you grow up healthy, heart, and stay heart healthy so you never have to go through that. And she just kind of, okay. But I think that just kind of hit me. That's what we have to do. We have to start from day one of teaching our children how to live healthy, and we have to set the example.
Right.
So, Tracy,
Yep.
we're going to start with you.
That's right. I'll do it.
We'll start with one, but it's if we spread it, it'll spread.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I could inspire you. I'm glad my heart attack could inspire you.
That's right.
But I'm being very serious because
It
if
is,
I can get one person,
Then your mission, it's not.
Yes.
You've got many years of teaching us all and mentoring women, and we want to do everything we can at Fort Mill Magazine to help get your message out. So we'll be working a little behind the scenes to see if we can come up with some ideas on how we can do that.
good. I'm all for it.
Yay! Well, thanks again for coming
Thank
and sharing your story and all your positive energy.
You are very welcome.
So thanks again to our sponsors this week, and that's Lyons Jewelers, and they're in Phillips Place in South Park, and their phone number is 704-556-7747.
And their street address is 6809 Phillips Place Court, just off the 6800 block of Fairview Road. Or you can go to lionsjewelers.com.
And we want to, again, encourage you to follow us on Facebook at Fort Mill Mag.
And Twitter at Fort Mill Mag.
At Fort Mill Mag. And our website, fortmillmagazine.com. Or you can type in fortmillmag.com.
Yep.
Follow our blog. And, of course, this here podcast.
Yeah. And tune in next week. We'll be here.
See ya.
Bye.